Well, in 2015, as you're probably aware, the United Nations and world leaders agreed 17 Sustainable Development Goals. I was an immediate fan and became an ambassador for their promotion. And I wrote the book, Designing the Purposeful World, the UN Sustainable Development Goals as a Blueprint for Humanity. And during that time, so between 2015 and today, 2024, I've been going around all over the world, really, talking to organisations and various audiences about those goals. And every conversation that we've had has begun with asking the audience to describe the world they'd like to see. And what I noticed is that the world that people want to see is usually described with positivity and optimism, whereas the Sustainable Development Goals talk often in the reverse, such things as no hunger or dealing with climate change. It's expressed in that sort of negative framework. So I wanted to put something forward that people could buy into, that was very positive, that was definitely about the world that we want to see, and that kind of summarised what people were saying during 8 years of conversations. So the 6 aspirations for a brighter future, which by the way is the subtitle for the book, Leading Beyond Sustainability is the main title. The 6 aspirations are as follows. First of all, connection. And by connection, I mean everything to do with the way that we connect, both digitally, the internet, but also the way we connect with love, kindness, compassion, and so on. That's the first aspiration. The second aspiration is peace. And I define peace as the absence of war and declining levels of violence around the world. And then the third, vitality, which is about well-being, not just of people, but all of life and the planet that we live in. And then the fourth aspiration is about abundance. So again, instead of talking about scarcity, we actually talk about having sufficient food, water, energy, resources, wealth, for everybody to lead their best life. And then after that, we've got opportunity, which embraces everything like education, career opportunity, and so on. And the final aspiration, which is unusual, is wisdom. I say unusual because you won't find it explicitly in the 17 Sustainable Development Goals, but it is a theme that sort of weaves its way through them. But it was something that was very important to people that I've spoken with over the last 8 years or so, and they want a world with wise leaders and wisdom generally helping us to navigate our way to a brighter future. Well, the 6 aspirations are described in the first 6 chapters as a chapter for each, and in those chapters people will also find some case studies. Case studies of multinational organisations, small organisations, and even individuals. The point being that we all know people who are delivering the brighter future that we want to see, who are effectively changing the world. So they'll see those case studies, which I describe as personal encounters, because they're all about people that I've come across that I know. And then in part 2 of the book, we talk about the different personalities that are at play in changing the world. Everything from activists to people who are innovators or communicators or facilitators, and even the people who may be saboteurs of that future, but have still got a voice that needs to be heard. And so this is encouraging people to have conversations with people who are not necessarily the same as themselves. And there's some diagnostics and quizzes to be had in that part of the book. And then the third part of the book is all about wisdom. And the reason for that is that, as I mentioned earlier, wisdom is very much a new aspiration. It's not explicit in the Sustainable Development Goals. And what I'm trying to do is to give people some techniques for developing their own wisdom, to kind of work out what they could do to have a wiser stance in the world. And then finally, the fourth part of the book is about alignment. And we're really there going right the way back to some of the thoughts that I first proposed in my first published book, which was Designing the Purposeful Organisation, which is about how do we align organisations, individuals, countries, the whole world to a common purpose. And that's the final part of the book. So what I'm really seeking out of this book is to join what is already a very positive narrative about the world that we would like to see. And the reason that I've chosen case studies relating to people that I know is that each reader will also know people who are changing the world. You don't have to actually look very far. In fact, probably 95% or thereabouts of everybody in the working world is somehow working towards this brighter future. And I use a phrase in the book repeatedly and deliberately, which is every time we notice, encourage and celebrate people who are changing the world, we are changing the world. And so the encouragement is for people, first of all, to spot those people and really celebrate and encourage what they do. And the other thing that I really want to come out of this is for organisations to truly understand the impact that they're having. In the work that I do with my colleagues here at Primeast, we spend a lot of time talking to organisations about the purpose of their work, and often they really miss the deep impact that they're having. And there are some stories that I share in the book about that, and to encourage organisations to really not be bashful about the impact that they're having, but to really celebrate that and to encourage others. So the interviews that people will find on my YouTube channel and through various other links are all to do with people who are already making an impact and delivering the brighter future that is described in the book. Many of the interviews are with people who feature in the personal encounters that are written up in the book. And there are others as well, people who I've met since I've written the book, who are making fantastic impact on the world and whose stories I just wanted to understand and share. And it's my intention, even beyond the publication date of the book, to continue to have conversations and to promote and celebrate people who are changing the world. So those interviews were partly by way of research to understand what some of these people are doing, bearing in mind that some of them were people that I met a few years ago, and I wanted to see how they were getting on. And there's one guy that springs to mind, a guy called Fede, who is in Colombia, and he was involved in taking the Sustainable Development Goals to every young person on the planet. You have to read the story to see how he did that. But since then, he's also set up incubators to help organisations who specifically want to set up sustainable businesses. And he himself has set up a business converting automobiles with combustion engines into electric vehicles. And he couldn't find an incubator to support him. So guess what? He's set one up. So that's two businesses now that he's doing, which are having a massive impact on the world. And everybody that I spoke to surprised me with how far they've gone since I first met them and the impact that they're really having. So one of the things that we're trying to do to help the message that is within Leading Beyond Sustainability to reach as many people as possible is to ask organisations to join with us in either a book launch or another sort of workshop where we can do two things. First of all, we can talk about what the book is about. And secondly, we can also promote and celebrate the work of that particular organisation. So the way it would work is this: the organisation hosts it, they get to welcome people to the event, they can invite whoever they like, they get a summary of the book, but they also get to hear what it is that the host organisation is doing to make the world a better place. And so we put the spotlight back on them, and then we allow people to have conversations. And I'm personally very happy to go anywhere in the world to do that and to have a win-win for the people who attend, the people who host the event, and also for getting the book out to as wide an audience as possible.